Alright guys, had some comments wanting to know how this SEM copper weld through does. And since I did both sides of this, by accident I'm welding through pure copper. So there's no bare metal or anything. I haven't scraped anything out of anything. And I'm striking up on the copper itself so you guys can kind of see how it welds. Now, you won't be able to see the weld itself, but watch the splatter or the lack of, and smoothness and the sound of the bacon frying, if you will, if I weld this correctly. I'm putting myself on the spot here, but you know, if it goes smooth, this stuff welds really well. So just to kind of give you an idea, because I have had a few questions, go ahead and check this out. Always put the end of your rough wire. I just found U-pole weld through copper per a guy that mentioned it on my channel for $21 on Amazon. And so if you want U-pole, that's almost half off. So that might be something you should look at. That and that 512, the red stuff, I forgot the name of it, but that stuff welds just like this stuff too. It's really, really good. Again, I've moved my welder up hotter, so if you were to just light up on this with what you think is bare metal, normally what you're welding with bare metal, you're probably not going to get very good results because it's just not hot enough to get through this. You've got to burn through that coating. So that's my basically advice to you guys. Let's go ahead and weld another one and see how it turns out. I don't like welding through this thing here, but I don't really have an option right now because the way this little lip is, I don't have a deal where I can put it out flat like that. It just won't hold it, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But you know, it's not that big a deal. It's just, you don't have as much freedom to move as you would if this wasn't there. You can just really finesse it really nicely. Thanks, Russ. Probably ought to put the other one on too. I don't know where it is, somewhere around here. Oh crap. I'm not a fan of welding between this deal. want to show you guys something on this epoxy. I've had a question, can you just scratch the epoxy out of the hole and then weld? Well, at first I thought yes, why not? Because it's going to liquefy the rubbery stuff and it'll grab hold again. Well, I'm finding as I do this and as I pay attention and study, okay, I welded here, but this area here, come on, focus. Hopefully that'll focus in on what I'm trying to get the focus on. That epoxy is burned away and it's let loose. Okay? It's let loose in an area that's not even, it just was heated there. So that's not re-adhering. So anything that burns around in between the sandwiched area is not going to re-adhere. So my best opinion today would be to do like I'm doing and put weld through on the flanges, because it doesn't burn away like the epoxy does. It burns, and it burns off, if you will, around these areas here. But then that's why I'm going back in and letting epoxy run down in and around these areas, hoping to seal this area up inside there. That's in the case that the weld through doesn't do what it's supposed to do, which is supposed to do that as well. So
tap now to watch a short video. You'll receive 30 minutes of ad-free music. Yes, really. If you tap now to watch a short video,
we'll get in trouble. Alright. Now because I've got this burnt epoxy, I don't like this discolored stuff, so I'm going to go back over it with the red Scotch-Brite and knock the top of it off. That way it's freshly scuffed epoxy. That way when I go back over it, it will adhere, because this epoxy has been sitting for a while. Probably going to respray all this outside area while I'm doing some of the other. So all this has to be cleaned up good. You wonder why restoration takes so long and costs so much money. We talked about this. This is why. You don't see a lot of this stuff you guys don't see, unless you're doing it, then you know. I mean, it's a lot of hand rubbing, a lot of scuffing to get this back to where it needs to be, because you can't just spray fresh epoxy back over this if it hadn't been Scotch-Brited up. Basically, I'm going to do the whole rest of this thing like this. The outside, anywhere on the inside that was burned away, has this burned areas. Let's do that number there. Get that black stuff off there. So that's a lot of rubbing to do. So I want to talk to you guys about something, so I'm going to bring you right back. I'm going to go turn the timer off because obviously got working by the hour on this, so I don't want to waste his time by me talking to you guys, so I'll be right back. Alright, here's what I want to talk about real quick. I made a video, let me turn this off. I made a video, oh man, 2 or 3 years ago I think, and I made it for Matt King at King's Disaster Garage. Well, little did I know this video was going to get 500,000 views. Single biggest video I've ever put out. I put it out for one person, just to kind of give him a quick idea of how to, you know, butt weld sheet metal. And at the time, you know, I had a pretty good handle on it, but I wasn't a pro by it. It's probably still not a pro by any means, but I've got to figure it out. I can stick metal together. So, where am I going with this? This little piece right here is actually the piece of metal that I used in that video. It's called butt welding sheet metal. If you click on YouTube and put butt welding sheet metal in, my video is the first video that pulls up. And like I said, I did it a long time ago. I was just doing it for Matt. I got a lot of likes and I got a lot of dislikes. So, would I do anything different? That's where I'm getting at. No. Yes and no. So I would weld this exactly like I did in that video. The thing that I said that I wish I could take back now is, which I may try to do an addendum on that or something like that, but I said you kind of want a little dip there for your fiberglass filler. Well, anytime you weld metal, you're going to have some shrinkage. But you can planish that back up. If you're trying to make this panel precision, you can hammer on dolly and get that thing back smooth and file it and get it just perfect. My thing was back then, I was just regurgitating what I was taught. And that was to always put fiberglass over your welds because that waterproofs them. Well, as I got better at welding and as I was going along, I'm like, why do you need to waterproof your welds if they're good welds? If you've welded this and you grind it down and it looks like it's never been welded, why not just epoxy it? You don't have any pinholes. If you have pinholes, then you need to go back and fill those pinholes in. Grind it back down, and you can look at your metal and see if there's a flaw. One thing I noticed on this is because I left the epoxy, as you guys saw me burning it off the back of that deal, that epoxy got in that weld and made a pinhole in the back of that. I had to go back through, clean all that crap out, and re-weld that little tiny pinhole. It's because it contaminated, that epoxy contaminated that weld. So basically what I'd like to say is, I don't know that it's necessary to use fiberglass on all your welds. I don't think that I will. I think that I'll make my welds right and then not have to worry about it. Now, will you have to use some filler? Probably, because you're going to have a little bit of shrinkage unless you take the time to plenish it all back out perfectly. And even then, you're going to have to probably use a skim coat. I mean, it is what it is. You just have to, unless you want your car looking, like that all the way down the side. So, anyway, I thought I'd throw that out there that I'm not 100% sure on using fiberglass, and if I could take that back out of that video, I would, because I don't know that it's necessary. If you weld correctly, you're not going to have a bunch of crap and pinholes, and the only time you get pinholes is when you have contamination. Either you've got oil, you've got epoxy, you've got some kind of something that's not supposed to be there, and the weld doesn't like it, and it pops, and it makes a, makes a pinhole. So at least that's my experience up to this point. Maybe 10 years from now, I'll look back and make this video and go, well, I was wrong back then too. But that's what we do. We progress, we move forward, we learn. So where I'm at now is I'm doing the best that I can do at this point. And 10 years from now, I may be like, I was okay, but I'm a whole lot better now. So we'll just see. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys. See ya.